Hi, everybody, and welcome to the Association of Intodogs. Today, we're joined by Suzanne from Purity and Talk Counselling. I had to write that one down because this is early for me, so I'd probably forget. So, Suzanne is joining Mark and myself today to talk about counselling. So, sit back, grab a cuppa, and absolutely enjoy this presentation. Susanna is going to do all the talking for a change, so you don't have to listen to me or Mark.
Well, would like value you asking questions whenever you feel like you need to. So,
yeah, well,
there's no problem there. So I'm going to hand you over.
Okay.
So off you go, Suzanne, and thank you for joining us.
You're welcome. Well, thank you for giving me the opportunity to talk to you about counselling and how it may help in your role as canine behaviourist. I thought it would be good to say a little bit about me. As you know, I'm Suzanne Parmenter from Purity and Talk Counselling, and I practice an integrative form of counselling, which basically brings in different models. So we call it integrative, if I can say that word. Based in West Sussex and offer in-person or online counselling. And I'm also a qualified supervisor, so I support other professionals, excuse the cat, in their roles. But they're not necessarily limited to counselling. A supervisor can actually do other roles, other business roles, and support people in those roles. Me personally, well, like many people, I've experienced difficult times in my life, and I've benefited from having counselling myself over the years. I've always had a lot of empathy and been able to support people. So it did feel quite a natural step for me to take up training in 2010 to be a counsellor. I've been practicing for 13 years and I'm still not getting any better. Seriously, though, I am actually humbled by my clients because I do think they're very brave to embark on the journey of counselling. It takes a lot of courage. And they do seem to think I'm pretty good, which is reassuring. As I said, I'm open to questions at any time, so please don't hesitate to stop me.
I've got one for you.
Oh, go.
Sorry, just quickly, before I forget, you mentioned earlier that you're also a qualified supervisor. What is that?
It's a role where you basically have a set time every month with a person, a professional, and they're able to discuss their business role or their clients that they have, and it's a support based meeting really, where it isn't necessarily therapeutic, but it can be, because obviously I've got the background in the counselling. But it's a download time. It's a place for them to share stuff they're worried about. It's completely confidential, and it just takes it out their head instead of carrying it with them.
So it's kind of like talking to your mate, but someone who's qualified to listen to it.
Yes, and also interact and explore different avenues. What's their stuff? What's the feeling around it? What could they do differently? And it was really a process, I guess.
So would that be like the old school kind of therapy group, support group, that kind of stuff, but one-to-one?
Yeah, possibly. Yeah, it could be like that, I would think. Yeah, but I guess it's a little bit, when it's one-to-one, it's a little bit more value, I guess, because in a group session you're hearing about other people as well, which may or may not be useful to you, especially if you're carrying some stuff that you need to speak about.
And what's the benefit of them not being in the same business that you're in?
Benefit to them or to
both parties, I suppose. In that, so you said the supervisor doesn't need to be in the same industry as you.
No, the client, if you like, the person needing the supervision doesn't need to be in the same industry.
Okay, is there a benefit for that, or it's the pros and cons really of that? I suppose.
I think pros and cons, yeah, because you if I don't know your business, I will learn about your business. I'll learn what's important to you, but you have got the therapeutic background to be able to help with the emotional side of that, which of course is in everything.
Okay.
Yeah.
They could be in the same business. It's just
there could be. Yeah.
Doesn't really matter. Okay. Brilliant.
Yeah. Doesn't matter.
That was my
yeah.
question.
No, that's good. That's good. Yeah, as I said, open to questions, so that's good. I'm obviously not a dog behaviourist, so there's no similarity between us there. But I am aware that both professions carry, being self-employed is quite isolating, which can lead to loneliness and lack of support. You can hear Huxley, my dog, in the background there, playing with the cat, I hope.
I'll get him on camera in a minute.
Yes. So later in the presentation, you'll hear me mention supervision, which you've just asked about, Mark, and peer supervision, peer support, both of which I find helpful. And obviously this discussion is about counselling, which I do have myself as well. And I would encourage everybody to consider counselling, because let's face it, when do any of us have an hour when we can just spend it talking absolutely about ourselves and have that undivided attention from another human being? That in itself is helpful. This can be especially important when you have a case where you meet, some dogs who've been treated badly. I do want to say that I personally have an awful lot of admiration for the work you do, and huge gratitude for all the dogs you do help, and the humans. And I sort of want to pass the message on, really, that don't carry the situations, or let the situations where you haven't been successful in helping overshadow the huge differences you do make, because that is a really, really important thing. Often I think we hold on to things that didn't go so well, or we maybe haven't achieved what we wanted to. So that's just what I wanted to say there. Just introducing counselling generally, I think some people think it's just talking, which is a bit like saying a dog is just a dog, when obviously there's so much more. Counsellors go through, excuse me, several years of training, in my case 4, to gain knowledge and qualifications to practice, in order to know what to explore and help clients understand how they're feeling about themselves and life or specific problems. The basis of my counselling approach is called humanistic, also known as person-centred. And it may sound quite obvious to say, but all clients are valued for their uniqueness, because we're all very different, and the problems we have and the difficulties we face in life affect us in different ways too. This approach primarily focuses on the client being their own expert. The main premise of that being that you know how you respond, what your views and values are. So therapeutically, you know quite a lot. You know how you think and how you feel. Simply put, humanistic therapy is all about you and what feels right for you. I paused there slightly in case you want to ask a question. So how does counselling help? So within a therapeutic setting, such as a quiet and confidential space, I might just see if I can switch the camera around, because Huxley's ready for his counselling in his chair there.
Hello, mate.
Hello.
Hey, Hux.
So he's ready for his session.
Oh, he's gorgeous.
Okay, I got jealous.
Yeah, I got jealous because you're talking to another dog. But
his name.
So that's his quiet, confidential space. And you work together. I think you in that space you're building a professional relationship, and it's the client and the counsellor working together to build trust. And a question which was often, or really I often get asked, is how does talking to a therapist help change the way I feel about aspects of my life? So we could be talking about things that have happened a long time ago, really. In answering that question, it's worth remembering conversations you've had with family, friends about problems, and although they're very well-meaning, they inevitably see your situation from their own view and their own life experience. So within counselling, you've got a qualified professional using theoretical knowledge and experience in specialist areas who will not impose their life experiences onto yours. So in short, you're offered what are known as the core conditions: empathy, congruence, and unconditional positive regard. So you can be assured that you'll be responded to with warmth and genuineness and understanding. Within the therapeutic environment, you will be listened to with a depth of understanding that is in itself supportive. So working in this self-directed way, i.e. the client is directing where we go. I don't pop up with ideas and say, shall we talk about this today? It means you can share your experiences as you feel them. And in the moment, being in the moment is the very heart of the work. Another important aspect about person-centered counselling is working with what's known as the here and now. And this aspect reflects the growth and change we all experience as human beings. Our growth is continual, and how we felt 3 months ago will not be how we feel now. It may sound a bit of a cliche, but life is an ever-evolving journey. As with all therapies, building trust is the single most important factor, and one which directly influences the outcome. And I would just add here, it's important, if anybody does think they want to embark on counselling, is to see 2 or 3 counsellors. Don't just go to one and think, right, okay, this is it. You've got to feel okay. You've got to feel that you can build the trust with that person. And you need to, you know when you've had a session, yeah, it feels okay. No, it doesn't feel okay. As with any relationship, trust takes time to build, so clients can feel comfortable to share thoughts, events, and feelings that they may not have been able to speak about before. So changing past experiences. We can all become trapped in past events, with memories, pain, sadness, and we naturally try and protect ourselves from this emotional hurt. Often we do this by trying not to feel. But this takes an awful lot of energy to try and keep feelings at bay. When we protect ourselves in this way, it can become a barrier between us, the people we love, and the world in general. It can change the way we think and behave and often affect our relationships. Therapeutically, this protection is called creative adjustment. We all do it. Everybody does it. And what I mean by that is, in order to make things feel less painful, we adjust how we behave because of how we feel. So the thought of facing past experiences can seem a very difficult prospect. And all too often, I think people don't seek counselling until they're really, really unhappy and they simply can't manage anymore. It seems that counselling is a last resort. Many people think it's not possible to change how they feel about past events that have affected their lives. But in the large majority of cases, revisiting a historical situation will never be as bad as the actual event or events themselves. And I just want to add a note of caution here that when I say this, I'm not referring to trauma-based conditions like PTSD. PTSD requires specialist trauma-based therapy such as EMDR, which is eye movement desensitization reprocessing. It's a very specific therapy for trauma. But in my, sorry?
Sounds quite invasive. So
yeah, they don't touch your eyes.
But what, to say that phrase again, what was it?
It's eye movement desensitization based reprocessing. It's basically, they get you to look at something. So they'll be holding something up. They get you to think about an event. Yeah. And it's literally by focusing on the object, might be a pen, say, it helps to adjust your brain to reprocess it and put it in a more comfortable place, desensitize it literally.
Okay, so I'm assuming then that without that focus on the pen, one of the symptoms of someone going through that is rapid eye movements, not
yes,
one place at a time. Okay.
Yeah, possibly so. I mean, I don't actually know the answer to that question because I'm not
boxes.
I'm not
I think what you said earlier about going to 2 or 3 different counsellors is such an important thing to remember, because there's nothing worse than going to one, not bonding, not feeling good after, and going, they must all be the same. And it puts you off counselling or going to counselling. It's the same with dog training. I mean, you can get one dog trainer you don't like and it just puts you off. And again, people wait till it's too late. Yes.
Yeah.
Even hiring a trainer or behaviorist, everything's snowballed. People are at breaking point, and it's something that could have been easily prevented a long, long time ago.
Exactly.
So,
exactly. Yeah, that's a very good point. Very good point. But it's I think sometimes we feel we go and see someone because we want help, and then that has to be the person. That has to be the person, no matter what, even if it doesn't feel right. And I think that's exactly very
some
good
people
point.
actually feel bad though. They've seen one person and you kind of feel like you're cheating on them seeing another person.
Yeah.
You know, it's weird.
I know.
You kind of like some people they want to be loyal to the brand, so to speak.
I understand that. I mean, I have that my own experience of finding training for Huxley, and I went to a couple of different trainers first before I found your lovely group, Bone Canis, and so wished I'd found you first, because actually it was such a good fit. I loved the ethos, I loved the training, and one of the first people I had, it was all too rigid, and it didn't feel right, but I carried on going a bit and eventually stopped. But it's hard, yeah. You think this is it. This is what I'm supposed to do. So
there's a similarity to those there between your job and our job, is because it's a very personable thing.
Yes.
Don't like the person, don't get on, they don't click with the person. I mean, we've had clients before where they've not believed what I've said, but if I put, say, Lucy in there, they'll believe she's saying the same things.
Yeah.
Just in a slightly different way, but it's just a different personality.
Yes.
And that's going to be quite a big thing. So a lot of times it's not even about the dog.
No.
It's about being liked first and then helping.
Yeah. No. So that's very true. So moving on from the EMDR, which is as I said, the cautionary thing about trauma-based therapy, that is a very specialist area. So let's just say we're exploring a past situation, and back then everyone was a different version of themselves in a different place with different feelings, perspectives and thoughts. You are no longer that 8-year-old, 25-year-old or 50-year-old, although I quite wish I could be 50 again.
We all do.
I'm sure. So in a supportive environment, we will look back together so that you understand how you felt then and discover how you feel now, because it will be very different. So how do we change how we feel about the past? We look at what's called reframing. And a good example of this is when you have your photograph you particularly like and you buy a frame for it. You go through a process. You think about a suitable frame, you buy a frame, and you finally put the photograph in the frame. So when you've got your nice photo in its new frame and you put it on display, it will make you feel differently when you first looked at that image. So you've had a whole process, and that's basically what we're doing. You've literally reframed it. This is what happens during the counselling process. We look at an event, we look at how it's affected you, we explore your thoughts and feelings as though we were looking at a new frame, and by the end of the process, you'll feel better. So just moving on now to depression. I know, that's a lot of us feel depressed at times in our lives. Firstly, what's the difference between feeling depressed and feeling sad? If you're feeling sad, you might feel down for a short while, want to withdraw or feel tearful. Generally, feeling sad is situational in that you feel sad at what's happened in your day or during a specific consultation that you might have had with clients. You may also feel sad if you're trying to help an owner to give their dog what it needs and the owner just doesn't seem to get it. Usually a sad feeling will pass and it won't continue indefinitely. Feeling depressed, however, is a persistent feeling where you're experiencing low mood, sadness, or even hopelessness on a daily basis. You may struggle to find pleasure in hobbies or activities you used to enjoy. You may also feel irritable, restless, intolerant of others. Sometimes depression can affect how you feel about yourself. For example, you might struggle to value yourself or feel helpless. In addition, you might find it hard to concentrate and make decisions. Often these symptoms are accompanied by physical symptoms such as not being able to sleep, sleeping a lot, and still feeling tired. I think it's important to say at this point, if any of you may feel that you're depressed, do complete the NHS questionnaire, Am I Depressed, online, because it's really helpful. And if you think you're depressed, I would encourage you to see a GP, because, you know, they are a good resource. Obviously, the first thing that will help when you're feeling depressed, you know, can be medication. I know not everybody wants to take it, but sometimes it can take the edge off the difficultness of it, the kind of like the wall that you might face. For those of you who interpret asking for help as not coping, a lovely quote from Charlie Mackesy, author of The Boy, the Mole, the Fox and the Horse. I don't know if you've heard of that. Lovely book. Denise is nodding.
Oh, yeah.
He says, asking for help isn't giving up, said the horse. It's refusing to give up. And I think that's a really nice way of looking at it, because a lot of people find it very hard to ask for help. Obviously, talking to a counsellor can also help you manage depression and uncover what the root cause might be. Jim Carey, he once said that you should think of the word as depressed as deep arrest, because ultimately that's what your body and mind need. And of course, we all carry on as normal. You know, if we feel depressed, you just plough on, which isn't always helpful. You need rest. Other things that help are getting outside into nature, looking at the trees, listening to the birds, and it will help clear your mind. It's been suggested that allowing your hands to sift through leaf mould on the forest floor can help you, because it provides a connection with nature, and even the smell of leaf mould apparently can be quite helpful. So I didn't know that. Writing down thoughts and feelings in a journal can also help too, because it's taking care of yourself and eating well and getting into a good sleep routine. They're all things that can help. You haven't asked a question for a while.
Look, I'm sitting here. The thing is, my brain, it keeps screaming out jokes to me, and of course to try and lighten the mood.
Yeah,
so
of course.
I know that's a very good one. But so, how would you cope with somebody who just wants to make a joke out of everything because it's easier that way?
Well, it's a deflection, isn't it? It's a deflection, and we would have a little bit of a laugh at the jokes for a while. I think then we'd look at the deflection, and then eventually we'd look at what's it deflecting from, and then we'd find a feeling that was hard, and then we would carry on. So it would be a gentle step by step.
Asking for a friend, of course.
Of course you are. Exactly. Well, I'll tell your friend that. That's what we would do.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So I know a lot of the people that obviously a lot of the people in this industry, as you said earlier, they are self-employed.
Yeah.
They don't have many people to talk to. I've mentored quite a few people over the years, and it can be really tough to take when maybe someone hasn't put the work in, or they've gone to somebody else because you haven't worked for them. And it's very hard not to take those things personally, especially when you get the extreme examples where maybe a dog's been put to sleep.
Yeah.
Because as I don't know about other behaviourists, but certainly myself, the second I meet a dog, that's my dog. You know, so I have that bond straight away. So it doesn't go well.
No.
That can be really, really upsetting. So
of course it can.
I think one of the biggest things people need to try and do is to not take things that personally. And it can be super hard. It really is not. It's a bizarre thing because it is personal and it's not personal all at the same time. You know, you didn't work out for that particular client. That's fine, but it is personal, but it's no one's fault.
No, it's no one's fault. But you know, in those awful circumstances, you're hearing something that could have been different, and I think that's where you probably get stuck. But again, it is about, you know, I hear what you're saying, but you are bound to take it personally because you know what you're doing or suggesting is the right thing to do. And ultimately it's how do you carry those feelings, and the answer is we don't really want you to carry them. We want you to we want you to, very unprofessional, we want you to be able to share them and let go of them and have that understanding that how you're feeling is perfectly normal.
And how do you feel about, because I see a lot of people running to Facebook to post. They've had a bad day, this happened, that happened. And then they get really upset because people start attacking them and giving them opinions and unsolicited opinions. And it's like, these are people screaming for help. These are people who really, really need to talk, and they've no safe space to talk in. There are dedicated safe spaces on Facebook that they can go to, groups and things. But a lot of the time, you know, they still struggle because either they know too many people in the group, or they're embarrassed. Or, I mean, what do you suggest for these type of people? Like, you don't want them bottling it up, but you don't want them going to the wrong place.
No, I mean, again, I think it's important either to be in something like peer supervision, or to think about counselling, because Facebook is I'm sure it can be very helpful in places, but when they are, you can see from the posts that they're actually reaching out for help and they need support, and people just use it as I think they call it the keyboard warriors, don't they?
Yeah.
You know, where they just launch into this is a human being. You know, this is not somebody fictitious or some sort of game. It's a real person at the end of that. And people are not conscious about how they respond.
No. Everybody seems to have opinions, even if they don't know the person. So.
Yeah, definitely. In fact, I think they're less inhibited with their opinions because they don't know the person. You know, I think that is a big problem with that.
And a lot of these things are very situational. I mean, if you haven't been there, you don't know the full story.
No, you don't. No, you don't. It's very true. Yeah.
Of course, the biggest thing, I suppose, at that point, I think you hit on it earlier when you said about people will see your problem through their own eyes, which of course is one thing. Of course, what one person thinks is a big deal, another person might think, well, actually, that's nothing. So it is important to get somebody properly qualified to perhaps through with it. It's always good talking to your mates and stuff, but
if it goes
that deep,
yeah,
having somebody professional to kind of go through things with you, it's got to be a better
And I think also, you know, talking to someone who's not a professional sometimes can minimize how you're feeling, you know, because that person that you're talking to might find it hard to hear, not know what to do, not know what to say. And often I think the inclination of most people is try and fix it. I'm hearing this person sad or struggling. Let's try and fix it. Well, don't think about it.
Yeah.
Well,
and another thing people tend to do as well is, because they don't know how to react, they start doing this almost like one-upmanship. Oh, well, similar happened to me. Or I know somebody and they got over it. And that's not helpful. But we also have to remember that person is not a qualified professional. They're just trying to help, and that's the only way they know how to.
Well,
and that can be so much more damaging for the person on the receiving end.
Exactly. I think that is one of the as you say, the most common responses, because the person is trying to show, I understand how you're feeling, because I know this XYZ happened. But actually, as you say, it's pretty damaging, and it bears no relevance. It's not going to make the person feel better, is it?
No. I come from a generation, of course, that you didn't talk about things.
No.
You know, you've had a problem, you dealt with it. You sorted it out yourself. You didn't, you know, you joked about stuff, blah, blah, blah. And of course, I think it's probably a lot easier. I don't mean that in a derogatory way, but probably a little bit easier for the latest generation to talk more openly. It's much more of a thing, generationally speaking. You want, especially as a bloke, you know, man up, get on with it. You know,
well, this is good. Well, I mean, 10cc ruined it for blokes, didn't they? When they did that song, "Big Boys Don't Cry."
Yeah, I was just thinking about that.
Yeah,
I think it was ruined way before that, anyway.
It probably was. It probably was.
But it is. It's a tricky one, because you do end up just getting on with it. You do end up just not showing. And I think a lot of the times, and you're very right, when you do start to open up, if you're talking to the wrong person, they do try and fix it, and that's the last thing anyone actually wants you to do.
That's right.
It's just having that. I think a place just to vent, and get out. But I suppose a lot of it as well, maybe for, again, my kind of generation, would be, well, what's the outcome? So I suppose in my mind, it'll be a case where I'm going to go and see somebody and I'm going to fix it. It'll be done.
That's it.
Yeah. So that's the thing, because we like definites, don't we?
Yeah. But replace fix it with process it, because you know, it is a process.
It is, but the brain still goes to the end game.
Yeah.
And I think that's what, and we get exactly the same thing with clients.
Yeah.
You know, they're not looking at the long-term picture. They're looking at, how do I fix this?
Yeah.
Of course, we're dealing with the emotional traumas, perhaps, of the dog as well.
Yeah.
And that mixes in with the human's frustration at the dog doing something, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
I saw a dog the other day where he's very frightened. I mean, he's a lovely, lovely boy. He's very, very frightened. Once he knows you, he's a bit soppy.
Yeah.
The advice from their vet was to say, be firm-handed with him, put him in his place.
Oh, that's the worst thing.
I was just thinking, that's a vet, and I was just thinking, well,
somebody needs a new vet.
Yeah,
I did say that to him. How do you make somebody less frightened or less anxious by going, come on, man up, get on with it, you know, have a whiskey. It is that, isn't it?
I think there's a lot of confusion as well for a lot of people, especially for the layperson, the difference between sympathy and empathy.
Yeah.
You know, that's a big one. And I remember when I was first starting out studying to do dog training, it was drummed into us, know the difference. You have to know. It's empathy is what you're looking for.
Yeah.
So that you can step back and view the whole situation.
Yeah.
You know, but a lot of people kind of fall into I mean, a lot of people do just have a more sympathetic ear instead of an empathetic ear.
Yeah. But I mean, it's also interests me, I think, that if they were talking to a 3-year-old child that was upset, would they get tough with that 3-year-old? Would they think that firm handling would be right?
Well, growing up in the 70s,
some people would.
Come here and I'll give you something to cry about was one we often heard.
Yeah.
Funny enough, I do use that analogy with a lot of clients, where you get the frightened dog and think of that dog now as a foster kid with issues.
Yeah.
And how do you deal with that foster kid? But as Denise says, we grew up in the 70s and it was different times.
Yeah. I know. It's hard, isn't it? But just
on the plus side of things, I suppose if you think about generationally speaking, the youth of today are much more open to it. It does lead us perhaps onto a generation of counsellors who are kind of at the next level. It's kind of getting to that stage where this is perfectly okay to talk about. It's just no big deal.
I mean, sadly though, there's as in every niche of life, there are young people who are too embarrassed to talk about how they feel, and they have a lot of peer pressure. You know, and sometimes counselling is very secretive, as in, you know, they won't say they're having counselling or whatever. Which is why I come back to that, you know, clients are very courageous to reach out for that help. Just moving on, if I may, to anxiety. You know, really looking at how you might feel and what will help. Think it's worth explaining, courtesy of Google. When we feel anxious, your amygdala, the threat detector, sends a distress signal to your hippocampus. I'm not very up on all these things. Triggering your fight or flight or freeze response. So via the sympathetic nervous system. So this prepares your body for danger with an increased heart rate, alertness, while your prefrontal cortex and hippocampus, which manage your rational thought, I want to hold on to that, rational thought, and memory are less active, leading to that hypervigilance and that difficulty in concentrating, because you're there responding, your body's gone crazy, you're hypervigilant.
And this is something we actually learn about our dogs.
Yes.
So we know all of this, but we forget to apply it to ourselves.
That's right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, very good point. There's a lady called Carolyn Spring. She's an author and trainer and therapist, and I think nobody explains it better than her, to be honest. And she says, while many people feel anxiety is their enemy and something to do battle with, it's actually rooted in our survival mechanism. Carolyn reminds us that it is simply like an alarm system being triggered when our brain senses threat. We need to reorganize it as a messenger rather than a malfunction, because I'm sure, a lot of people think, oh my God, I'm feeling anxious, this is terrible, and all of that. But actually, it's an alarm, rather than a malfunction. So we might find that our anxiety levels rise when we hear a fire alarm. When we're in a passenger in a car and the driver brakes hard. So you can see that anxiety has a useful purpose too, because it's alerting us, isn't it? And it's the body's healthy way to respond to danger. I might feel anxious giving this presentation, as it's not really my forte. Generally, anxiety is a psychological signal that may escalate when there's no emergency. So it could be a mismatch between the body activation and the actual action. And I think it would be a natural response to our anxiety if we simply try to avoid triggers that make us anxious. However, this actually reinforces that the triggers are dangerous. So if we look at my previous example, being a passenger in a car and the driver brakes suddenly, and you feel anxious, you avoiding that situation ever happening again will simply make you feel more anxious about being a passenger in a car. So, you can see that it's not necessarily the right thing. I think one of the most effective ways to manage anxiety is to notice that you're feeling anxious. Pause, ask yourself, is there a real danger? And you'll see I'm talking slower. Look around you. What do you notice? Say what you can see. It will help you decide if there's a threat, because you're taking in your environment, you're slowing everything down. Getting into the habit of this will really calm the responses in your body, and it will help you re-engage that frontal cortex and hippocampus, which, as I said, Google said earlier, manage your rational thought, and they allow you to re-establish that sense of calm. So again, we're processing, we're thinking, what's happening? I need to look around. If you hear a loud noise, you think, what was that? Okay, I'm looking, I'm listening. You're hypervigilant. But then do I need to be worried about that? So we might do it in a split second, all of that. But in more severe cases, you need to really think about it and work hard to look around you. Another really helpful resource with anxiety is practicing breathing, as again, this helps re-engage the body in rational thought. So basically, I always suggest with this exercise, you place your hands on your tummy and you take a big breath in. And I know this sounds ridiculous, I'm telling you how to breathe, but bear with me. So hands on the tummy. And the benefit of putting your hands on your tummy is that you're engaging your body response. So within the exercise. So if you suffer from anxiety, you really need to, you're feeling as you take the breath in, you feel your hands move. So that it's another response body. You can feel your hands moving in, even if you're not looking. And I always say to people, do it every day. Practice 2 or 3 times a day. And then when you need it, you'll just do it. It's no good thinking, I feel anxious now, I'm going to start this breathing. So try and practice it as a matter of course.
Sounds so daft, doesn't it? Practice breathing every day.
Yeah, practice breathing every day. Yeah.
It's a crazy thing, but
it is.
You're talking about really controlled breathing as opposed to
controlled breathing, a breathing exercise. Yeah. Because ultimately you want to get back to your thinking brain to help regulate your emotion, basically.
I must admit, years ago, I learned to not respond straight away to anything.
Yeah.
Give it a night, just in case.
Just in case. Yeah.
Yeah. I will always, if there's a bigger problem, I'll sleep on it overnight.
Yeah.
I'll respond in the morning, where some of the people that I know will just go straight back in and go, raw.
Yeah, because they're
more often than not, it causes
flooded.
more problems. So
That's right.
it's always better to try and form a proper answer the next day, as opposed to when you're emotionally charged.
That's right.
Yeah, like when you get angry, you've lost control.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
And
do.
we're always looking at dogs and going, they need decompression.
Yeah.
And we don't, again, we as trainers and behaviorists, we know all this stuff, but we never apply it to ourselves.
Yeah, as human beings, I know. Yeah. It's true because, I mean, sometimes with my work, there are times in the evening when I sit down and I'm so full up, my head is so full up that I don't even want the TV on, don't want any noise. And that is the same, I guess, for a dog, you just need that decompression time, because you're full up. Your bucket's full up with stuff and there's no more space.
But you also get Huxley cuddles.
Well, yeah, he's not terribly keen on cuddles. I have to make him cuddle me. except when he's a bit worried. Sometimes he does that thing where he puts his paws up, and then that's lovely. But it's generated usually from him not feeling great. So that's a bit of a shame.
It's fine. Yeah.
But hey, there we go. There's a mindfulness app as well for anxiety, which I've often recommended because I have used it myself in the past. It's called Headspace, and it's a really, really useful one. I think it's free for a week, and you can do a daily exercise on it. And again, mindfulness is clinically proven to help anxiety. Other ways to help you manage anxiety might be an elastic band on your wrist. When you start to feel anxious, you give it a little ping, and this will bring you back into your thinking part of the brain. Immersing your hands in cold water can also help, as the principle is the same. It calms you and calms the body, and gets you back so you can think.
My brain's
I see another joke coming.
It's just like holding that person underwater for a bit longer.
Are you calm yet?
That's where my brain went to straight away.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure there are times when that might be helpful. So, and you were talking, above all, what we're talking about here is be compassionate towards yourself. Build your own personalised toolkit to help you tailor strategies which will work for you. Work with anxiety, not against it. And remember, it's a signal, not a flaw. So
we get that a lot because we go and see clients with their dogs, and we often, more often than we like to admit, I suppose, we often become an unqualified human counsellor because we're trying to explain what the dog's going through.
Yeah.
So we're trying to then also help the client. They might feel like they're failing, but actually they're not.
No.
Because the worst thing ever with clients is that they don't see the changes that we see because they're there 24/7.
That's right. Yeah.
And it's very, very difficult then for them to move forward from that. So I've lost count the amount of times I've been in the middle of a domestic argument between two people and been trying to sort them out before we get to the dog.
Yeah.
So that's it. But then that does show the level of frustration.
Yeah. Oh, an upset.
It can all cause. So it is a tricky one. Maybe we should all get some low-level qualification on counselling because it might actually help our job a lot better.
Yeah. Well, yeah. There's the NVN National Counselling Federation do levels 1 to 3. I think it is. It is like the listening skills, the interacting, interpersonal skills, and managing conflict and stuff like that. They're quite good. But I think sometimes it must be really hard to be faced with that disagreement and you haven't even got to the dog problem yet. Or maybe tell them to go and see a counsellor.
Yeah. Let's get your cards.
Yeah, you should. I haven't got any though.
No. It can be really tricky. It's people get. It's a very emotive subject. Of course, it's a lot of the times it can be. It's one person's little pride and joy, and the other person's annoyance.
That's right. Yeah,
that can be a big thing. So it can be quite. It can push couples to separate and all that. It can be a big thing. So it is quite.
Yeah.
But then that's where the pressure comes on the behaviourists because they're now looking at a quick fix.
That's right, and it's not quick.
No.
It's not quick. And I speak from personal experience, don't I, with Huxley, of 2.5 years with separation anxiety. And it's a slow old process, but, you know, look back and you see how much has changed and how much better he is. And then you have more confidence, for the future.
Absolutely.
I
suppose it's a little bit like the breathing thing for us that you were saying a minute ago. It's that repetition and consistency that becomes a muscle memory, as opposed to I need to do something today.
Yes, exactly. I need it to be better now. Yeah. It's just building. I mean, I've found exactly that with my routine of going in and out the door, getting the car out, coming back. You know, he used to respond to me putting the shoes on, doesn't do it anymore. He used to respond to me getting the keys, doesn't do it anymore. Can actually get the car out, and he's not even at the window sometimes.
Yeah.
I wait for him at the window outside in the car, but no, he doesn't appear.
And the sad thing is a little part of your brain going, oh,
he's not there.
Does he not care that I'm going out then?
That's right. He's not there. I'm doing this and he's not there. Which is great that he's not there. But
all that hard work I put in is actually working. Damn it.
Exactly. So feelings. This is a big one for a lot of people. We need them. Some of you, I don't know if you've got children, or you may remember that film, 2015, called Inside Out. It was an American 3D computer animated children's adventure from Disney, Pixar. For those who haven't seen it, it's about a character called Riley, who's an 11-year-old happy girl. World turns upside down when her parents move to a new city. And Riley's emotions are monitored in a feelings headquarters. And I did think it was a great film to help children understand that we need all these feelings. So each feeling becomes a character in the film: joy, sadness, anger, fear. And actually sadness becomes the prominent emotion, and the film very cleverly depicts how all the other feelings are needed to help sadness. I mean, I went to see it as an adult because I thought it was so interesting that they did it. Sorry?
It's a really good film.
It was a really good film, yeah. I think we all need to remember here that when we feel sadness, anger and fear, we are upset. We're upset, and it needs to be soothed and comforted. And going back to your dog scenario, they're upset. They need to be comforted. I'm sure you'll have all encountered people who are angry, and noticing that they are upset is not often the first thing that comes to mind. How differently do we respond to someone who's upset crying? Usually, most people would respond sympathetically. Unfortunately, people are not very good at safely expressing their anger, and therefore this often alarms other people. The point here is that we need all our feelings, and we need to express them safely and appropriately. So our emotional system is a bit like our digestive system. We can't switch part of it off. We need all of it to work together. Feelings all work together. They're balanced, and it's okay to be upset, angry, so long as we do not cause harm to ourselves or others. You may wonder why I'm focusing more on anger here, but it's because, in my experience, it's the least expressed, and it's the result of many other thoughts and feelings not being expressed. So we've not expressed upset, sad, we've not expressed upset, disappointed or frustrated, and eventually we're upset, angry. So that's basically the high end of the scale. It's a feeling. It's a bit like building layers. Something happens or upsets you and you sit on it. You do nothing. You say nothing. Then another thing happens, the same thing. I describe these like a walnut, a hard and almost impenetrable shell. One or two of these chucked in your rucksack aren't too bad, but when you collect them over a number of years, they become heavy and you carry them around, and we use a lot of energy carrying them around. So the walnuts weigh heavy, the feelings weigh heavy.
To us, it's trigger striking with the dogs.
I have put that in here, actually. Yeah, exactly that. Only because I knew that phrase from Mark.
Don't steal our phrases.
See, somebody learned something from you.
Yeah. what I'm saying here is that we need, all these feelings need processing, and simply it's not helpful for your own well-being to push them aside or try and ignore them. They need a voice. When we push our feelings away, we sometimes find other strategies to try and cope with them or mask them, and these are not usually very healthy. Although I like your sense of humour one, Mark. Cracking joke. That's pretty healthy. To an extent. Of your friend, of course. For your friend.
It's all okay till the laughter stops, as they say.
Yeah. Yeah. So managing feelings and having an outlet. Part of the process of managing feelings is recognising when you're experiencing them in the first place. And again, that might sound a ridiculous thing to say, that we might not recognise we've got a feeling happening. Most people only acknowledge that they are feeling something after a difficult situation or when something they were anxious about is over. In your profession, you know, you may have an appointment with the client, you already know the dog's not in the right environment, and all you can hope is you can educate the owner sufficiently so that the dog has a better life going forward. It's likely your feelings are overshadowed by thoughts of the situation you're going into, so you don't actually recognise that you're feeling what you're feeling. So you're unprepared. In these situations, it's important to give yourself a few minutes prior to the appointment to breathe. I'm breathing again. I do mean breathe. Because when we're tense, we often don't realise we're holding ourselves quite tightly and we don't breathe properly. So we might be taking quite shallow breaths. Practice the breathing exercise, as I previously said. Try and calm your body prior to that appointment so that you can think, and it will ease that anxiety and help the experience. Many people struggle to acknowledge their feelings not only in the moment, but even retrospectively. They may try and push them away, and I'm not sure we all understand why people might do that, as feelings can be overwhelming. The problem with pushing feelings away, it's a bit like when you push a beach ball down into the water. It takes quite a lot of effort to push it down deep. And as soon as you let go, it flies back out at great speed, doesn't it? And that's exactly the correlation with the feelings, is that it takes a lot of effort to push the feelings down day in, day out. And eventually they're going to burst out. They just will. Well, it might be years, months, whatever, but they will. Over time, this is going to be exhausting and potentially drain you of your resources, resilience, and energy. An outlet is important so that you can allow yourself to feel, and everyone will have a different way of allowing their feelings to have airtime, so to speak. And what I often suggest is just sitting down for 10 minutes a day, having a dialogue with those feelings, allow them that voice. You may find that simply thinking about how you felt earlier in the day is sufficient. Some people like to write things down, how they felt, put pen to paper or fingers to keyboards. It allows them to transfer feelings from their head so they don't stack up layer on layer. Trigger stacking. I think you use phrase trigger stacking. It's similar.
I just keep thinking of the movie Michael Douglas.
Yeah.
Falling Down.
Yes.
Where he totally trigger stacked until bam.
That's it.
You know.
That's exactly what happens. Yeah. Because you just can't function, can you? It just layers up, basically. And unless we de-stress or take positive action to give our feelings an outlet, they affect us more and more and more, just like dogs who've had too many triggers. You may find yourself visiting a client where you feel they're not listening, or maybe one or other, a couple are not believing what you were saying, like you said earlier, Mark. And I'm going to suggest in these circumstances, I think I've lost my thread here. What am I saying now? Just something. Oh, I see. What I'm going to suggest, I haven't said it yet. It takes practice, but it's well worth doing. In counselling, we call it immediacy. It's a really handy skill to develop when you feel things aren't being received well. And I think that I hope that this will really help some of your members as well. When you think or feel that things aren't being received well, for example, consider saying something along the lines, "I get the sense you're not convinced at what I'm saying." And you phrase it as a question and wait for the answer, as it will make them think. And more importantly, it will give them the opportunity to ask you a question about the advice you're giving. So you're not aiming to call them out, you're aiming to encourage them to open the dialogue. Because you will know, you get that sense, in a sense, don't you, that they're not listening. Immediacy can be also used when you think the client's got unrealistic expectations on the time frame, or when you sense the client may not have the ability to carry out the practice to support their dog. Because that's the other thing, you're dealing with different people, different abilities. And ask them, do you think you can do this? Again, is there anything I can do that will make it easier for you? Because if you ask them these questions in that moment, it may encourage them to think, oh yeah, well, actually, I'm struggling to think how I can do that. I know you'll all do your best when you see clients, but you have to remember some people will just never get it. And it's really sad, and most of all, it's sad for the dog. But that is a reality. There is a proportion. Yes, in my role, it's the same. There are some people who just don't get counselling. And that is going to happen. I think finding balance is really important for a healthy mind. When we don't have that, we feel overloaded or deprived of things we need. And I describe it a bit like petrol tanks. You can function quite well if 5 are topped up to 75%. And even when some are 50%, you'll probably manage. When all 4 or 5 of your tanks are only 25%, you'll feel unhappy. You may even find you feel deprived of all the things you need. You have to decide what 5 tanks are in your life. What would you consider your balance? It could be your partner, your children, work, your own dogs, but whatever you choose, you need to think about how full are they? How balanced are they? Whatever it is for you, strive to keep the tanks evenly filled so you can maintain that balance. Because again, sometimes we just forget, we get used to not needing something. And actually, we need all these things to have that balance. Balance is also important in your role, obviously. I'm sure, as you said earlier, Mark, it's finding yourself taking on responsibility for the dog. And it's emotionally draining and exhausting. It must be. And when you visit clients, it may be a one-off, but you sense they're just not getting it. I don't know if it's possible, and forgive me if many of you already do this anyway, but in these cases, can you suggest they have a block of sessions that you can help them more consistently, monitor how they're working with their dog? Again, I don't know whether you do that already with some people.
A lot of people do. A lot of people will do like a package of things. It depends on the issue, really.
Yeah. Yeah.
But we all work in different ways. That's the thing. So my way is very client led.
Yeah.
So I want them to come back to me, because if they come back to me each time, I know they're committed.
Yes.
I want to do that change.
Yeah.
The last thing I want to do is sell them 5 things in a row and kind of go,
yeah.
Because in my mind, it's not a very good business thing, but in my mind, you're wasting your money. I'd rather you went to somebody I could recommend to you that you might listen to more and do this with them. So we all do different things, different ways.
Yeah. I guess it's when you sense that maybe some clients are struggling a bit and they need a bit of extra support, is, let it evolve organically, still be client led, but, if that's, if you see the struggle and they need to slow it down,
Yeah, I'll always offer help. That's never going to be an issue. And sometimes if I feel the need to, then I'll do that for nothing, just to give that extra bit back, to kind of give that bit of momentum going forward again. So it's not, for me, it's not about the money.
No,
making sure that dog's, we've all got bills to pay, but but it's nice to just give a little bit back sometimes, so that people know it's not, you're not just pushing an agenda of making more money. For me personally, I know Denise is the same. We're there literally for that dog.
I know.
That's it.
Well, I've had a lovely experience of that from you myself, so I'm very appreciative.
Yes, and I drank your thank you. That was lovely.
That's very good.
But it can be a little bit tricky because we want to help, and that's what we want to do. And Denise is the same as me. A lot of the times, you kind of feel guilty about charging people sometimes because you think, I just want to help the dog.
I know.
Especially the ones that maybe haven't got quite the money they need to have to do it. So it's a very fine line between being taken advantage of and helping.
Yeah.
And that's where I suppose the likes of Denise and I will take it so personally when they don't follow through.
And it is trial and error. I mean, we've both been stung a number of times helping people, and we helped the wrong person.
Yeah.
But the next person that comes along could be the genuine one, so I'm not going to stop.
No, and you can't.
And then have somebody miss out because I'd been stung and was holding it against everybody.
I know, and again, that comes down to processing the feelings, doesn't it? Yeah.
Oh, don't get us wrong. We sit there after being stung, going, "That's it, no more." Until
never doing that again until the next day.
I know.
As soon as we see a picture of the dog, right then.
Exactly. No, I know. I mean, I do that myself. I've recently, a couple couldn't afford the sessions, and I stepped in and said, I'll give them free you pay for one a month and I'll pay for the other one in the month. And
that's
basically,
nice.
So, because you can see they need it, they want it, they're committed, but they're struggling. So,
but also from a selfish point of view, it makes you feel good.
Well, I guess, but I just sort of think of it as, you're getting somewhere. Let's not stop now.
Yeah.
Because actually you can do it. So
but you're doing exactly what we would do with a dog, where you get invested in that relationship. You get invested in that person.
Yeah.
And you want to see the results at the end of it.
That's right. Yeah.
And of course, then you go through the same things that we do. You get down if people aren't getting the sessions.
Yes. Definitely.
And then you have to process it.
Yeah, exactly right. Yeah. I mean, it brings us quite nicely onto ongoing support. Working alone can leave you feeling isolated and unsupported, as we've said. Ongoing support can be in several ways. Obviously, counselling is a good way. It's direct support. It's investment in yourself. You can talk about whatever's been on your mind, and it's surprising how many clients I've had, and they say, I didn't know what I was going to talk about today. And they spent the whole session talking non-stop. Obviously, a counsellor engages in the dialogue and helps you to explore your thoughts and feelings. And if you do decide to see a counsellor, do make sure they're qualified, a member of a governing body such as the British Association for Counselling Psychotherapy or the British Psychological Society. Really important that it's easy to say, well, of course they're qualified. Well, are they? Because some people aren't, and there is no legal requirement to be qualified to practice.
Sounds familiar.
Exactly the same with us.
Okay, so you know where I'm at then. Yeah. So the best place to search for a counsellor is on the Counselling Directory. And I've given the website. I mean, I don't know if you want me to send you the transcript of this so that you've got the links for.
Just send the links.
Yeah, links would be great.
Make sure you have a session, as I said before, with at least two or three counsellors before settling on one that feels right for you. Other support may be a download with a colleague when you've had a particularly difficult case. Peer support be very helpful in cases where you need someone who's probably experienced the same feelings as you and have, again, talking things through stops it building up in your mind. Professional supervision is also helpful, as I said. It's usually 90 minutes a month where you talk about your work, how you feel, what you have felt, and how this might have impacted on your personal life. Because again, I think people forget that you can't do the job you do and expect it not to have an impact. And if you don't talk about it and shut the lid on it, it will have an impact. We're basically when we don't share thoughts and feelings with anyone, we're often unable to be present in our everyday life. And as we want to be, we may miss things that are important or not remember an important conversation with a loved one. Basically, you think of talking as clearing space on your hard drive. The more space you have, the better you'll perform, the easier it will be to be fully present in areas of your life. Yes, of course, talking to a husband, partner, wife, close friend is a good way, but with the limitations that we mentioned earlier, that, if it's just to download and actually just want to say the words out loud, that's great. And another way, sorry, he agrees.
Yeah.
Writing a journal can also be helpful. Anything that allows you to let go of uncomfortable feelings instead of holding on to them and trying to carry them is good. So, in concluding, how counselling works often eludes clients because it's a complex process to explain unless you've experienced it. You may not see how it can be successful. As I said earlier, the relationship you have with the counsellor is a big part of whether or not you'll get the best from the sessions. You're building a relationship, trust, safety, knowledge. It's completely confidential, bar a couple of caveats. Counselling is about developing your awareness, enabling you to experience growth and change. Working together in this way separates things into smaller, more manageable parts. It's a bit like taking up stepping stones over a stream, and relaying them so the route across is a bit more easier, and it blends more harmoniously with the person you are. We've got a crazy dog next door. Huxley is reacting to that, but then it's a good job. This is all about dogs.
Absolutely, yeah. Bless him.
So during this process, you learn a lot more about yourself, have a deeper understanding of your emotions, develop strategies to help you navigate your journey in a way that feels right for you. To those of you who may be thinking, I don't need counselling, Western culture views independence as a virtue. We've been taught that a truly strong person doesn't need anyone to survive and thrive. But actually, allowing yourself to need and accept support is a good thing. Another lovely quote from Charlie Mackesy. What's the bravest thing you've ever said? Asked the boy. Help, said the horse. So again, I'm coming back to my admiration of clients who do reach out. I've listed a few resources which I'll send on to you, and obviously they do include my hello. They do include. I think you want a bit of support. They include my details as well, but also the Counselling Directory, which, as I said, is the best place. I've included Caroline Spring because she's very much about anxiety, 6 steps to manage anxiety. The BACP, the NHS Am I Depressed? And there's also the Galen myotherapy canine massage and biomechanics rehabilitation, because I think, sometimes you can see a dog is uncomfortable, but there may not be a veterinary issue. And they've done tremendous work, if you've heard of them. But in being able to maybe say, actually, your dog could benefit from this. So
we've also got craniosacral therapy as well, which is really
yes, absolutely, yeah. So that's me, my presentation.
Thank you very much. I think I'm out of questions. What about you, Denise?
I had questions.
Well, it was interesting because when you first said, well, do a presentation, and then you told me it was all very informal, I was thinking, I can't make it informal, really, because it's, if you don't give an idea how does it work, people won't believe what you're saying, because they'll think, oh, well, that they make an assumption. So do forgive the detail.
That's really, really good. I really enjoyed that. I mean, and I'm assuming people can reach out to you if they see they wish to.
Oh, definitely they can. Yeah, definitely. Yeah,
and the details on the post as well. So that's really good. So yeah, thank you for coming along. That's been really enlightening. I enjoyed that. It was good.
Well, Well,
And I
thank
know
you.
a number of our members had been going through various things, and they gave us kind of a loose breakdown as to
Yeah.
areas they'd like to be covered. And I think you actually covered pretty much everything in that. So I
Yeah.
hope that really helps them and kind of encourages them, gives them some insight as to the best places to go
Yeah.
to get some help.
Yeah. Well, I definitely tried to incorporate those, and in my limited knowledge of what you do as well, to bring some of that in to make it more relevant to you guys.
Brilliant.
So,
Well, let's
yeah.
say goodbye to the internet for a second. And
Okay. Well,
thank you
thank you
very
for
much.
having me.
You're welcome.